Subscribe and like this video, more interesting revenge stories of elderly people coming soon.
My name is Vincent. Perhaps some still remember this name, like a mention in a dusty archive, like a signature on a long-forgotten agreement, like a toast at someone's wedding. But that was a long time ago. Today, I am a shadow in my own home. In my own life. I am 72. I live on the outskirts, alone, in a house that once breathed life. Today it smells of old books, dust, and tea with bergamot. The walls are covered with pale stains of memories, the floor is creaky, as if it also wants to say something important, but has already forgotten the words. The furniture is neat, but tired, like me. Next to it, an old blanket, a gift from my wife before she passed away. Next to it, a notebook. The notebook is my only interlocutor. Every morning I wake up before the sun. I make tea, sit in a chair by the window. The world behind the glass is noisy, running, alive. But without me. They don't notice me in the store, like a phantom through which glances pass. They don't hear me in the clinic. They say, "He's old, he doesn't need anything anymore." They don't wait for me. They don't remember me. My son is the director of a large company. Successful, self-confident. He used to ask me about everything, from women to investments. Now he doesn't even answer short, "How are you?" My daughter is in Europe, with her husband, an architect. She sends gifts for Christmas, signed in someone else's handwriting. She talks about me with colleagues. My dad was so strong. There was. My granddaughter is a shiny selfie in designer clothes. Once she came with her boyfriend, and when I asked him his name, she said, laughing, "Grandpa, don't strain yourself, you'll forget anyway." I don't forget. I just keep quiet. I used to think that old age is peace. That there will be time for books, reflections, heartfelt conversations. But no. Old age is when you are thrown overboard without even saying goodbye. It is not silence, it is soundlessness. Loss of form. Weathering. Invisibility. But there is something that they do not understand. That I myself did not admit for a long time. Fire. It smolders. Somewhere deep down, under the ashes of disappointments. I feel it in my chest, when the neighbor's teenager lies to me in front of the postman. When the young saleswoman throws the rest of the language on the floor, he won't bend anyway. When my son speaks of me in the past tense, although I am still alive. It burns. Not brightly. But stubbornly. Like a stove in an old house that no one heats anymore, but there is still heat in it. Now I know, I have not gone out. I have contracted, shrunk, so that they will forget. So that they will lower their vigilance. I ask no more. I do not complain. I observe. And I record. And I remember. Everything. Silently, but not toothlessly. My silence is not surrender. It is a pause. Before the first move. I wasn't always this silent, hunched silhouette in the window. Once upon a time, not so long ago, I was a storm. Those who don't recognize me now used to stand in line to shake my hand. My opinion carried more weight than the governor's signature. My word opened doors where others didn't even knock. I remember how I started, with 2 hands, 1 idea, and no guarantees. The early 90s. The streets still smelled of fear, banks of betrayal, business of risk. I sold coffee when others sold fear. I drove at night so as not to be seen by those who had guns instead of consciences. I collected every penny to pay the workers while my partners ran away with the cash register. But I didn't run away. I stood. When the exchange rate crashed, I gathered the team and said, "Let's work." When the raiders came to the door, I met them in my office and looked them in the eye. When my wife cried because there was nothing to feed the children, I stayed sober because someone had to be sober. And when my children entered university, I took out loans, mortgaged my business, forbade myself a new suit, but paid for their future. I was a support. A rock against which the waves broke. All those who have learned to breathe in comfort today, they breathe because I did not lower my head in the dirt when life forced me to. I was betrayed by partners, politicians, even those whom I considered friends. But I did not take revenge. I forgave because I had more important things to do. And I was strong not because I did not feel pain, but because I went despite it. And now, no one remembers. The phone is silent for weeks. Messages from children are reminders of grandchildren's birthdays, sent through the secretary. Those I once saved now walk past, looking away. It's amazing how quickly they forget. I look at today's leaders, loud, bright, empty. They are listened to. They are applauded. But if the wind blows them in the wrong direction, they will fall like plastic figures. And I stand. In every scar of mine, a story. In every wrinkle, a victory. I am not old. I am the result of a struggle. And today, when they say that he is gone, I only smile. Because I know, they have no idea what I have been through. And what else I can do. I have seen the true face of strength, my own. And although today my shoulders are bent, it is not the burden of age, it is the scars of triumph. And the most terrible thing for them, not what I remember, but what I still think. I still plan. I still know how to play. And I have never lost in this game. I was just waiting for others to forget who I was. Pain doesn't always thunder. Most often it whispers. It falls on you slowly, in small pieces of reality that seem to mean nothing, but they sharpen, until you turn into a crack. My grandson, the one I once held a pen for when he took his first steps, now casts condescending glances at me. Once, when I asked him to help me set up the TV, he, without looking up from his smartphone, said, "You still won't understand." And he laughed. Thin, condescending, cold. That laugh that doesn't laugh, but cuts. Son. I called him 5 days in a row. Once the secretary picked up. She said that Mr. Markovich is very busy. Mr. Markovich. To his father. When he finally called, his first sentence was not "How are you, Dad?" but "Why are you calling so often? Is everything okay?" Yes, son. Everything. Absolutely. Normal. In the hospital, they called me a deaf grandfather, even though I heard everything. I heard the doctor order the nurse to take him out of here because he's already confusing reality. In the supermarket, my package fell, banal, slipped out of my hands. I bent down, slowly, carefully, and then I realized that everyone was seeing it, and no one was helping. People walked past me as if I were a shadow or garbage. One guy walked around my package, almost stepping on it, and pretended that nothing had happened. But I picked it up anyway. Slowly. But by myself. And not out of pride, out of principle. In the park, 2 young men, jokingly, pushed me with their shoulders. One of them said, "Sorry, grandfather, I didn't see it." I didn't see it. Nobody sees it anymore. But I see it. I keep records. Days, hours, situations. Everything, by points. Not out of revenge. Out of necessity. Because what hurt yesterday must become fuel tomorrow. My notebook is not a diary. It's a map. A chessboard. I don't feel anger anymore. Rage is the emotion of the young. I'm cold. Tight as a knot. I drink tea, read the newspaper, and it seems that I am calm. But it's not calm. It's the calm before the storm. It's the same as I felt in '96, when my partner stole 80% of the business, and everyone thought I had disappeared. And then his assets were seized, his family fled, his reputation was destroyed. I kept quiet. But I played. They think I'm broken. In fact, I'm put together. Down to the last detail. And every insult is another nail in the coffin of their illusion. They think I'm doing nothing. And I'm building. It happened at a bus stop. I was returning from the hospital, a diagnosis that sounded like a sentence, but was just another stamp on the body of the system. In my hands, packages, bread, medicine, an envelope. Too much for one old hand. I fell. I simply tripped over the curb. The packages flew. The pills rolled across the asphalt like scattered bones. People looked around. Someone stopped, not to help, but to film on the phone. I heard a voice behind me, but no one needs him anymore. I didn't get up right away. Not because of the pain, I've long been used to him. But because at that moment, something clicked. The click was inside. As if a door had been opened that someone had kept locked with dozens of bolts for a long time. And the silence that had always lived in me suddenly became black. Not empty, but saturated. It wasn't anger. It wasn't resentment. It was clarity. Crystalline, cold. I got up on my own. Slowly. Confidently. I picked up each pill, put everything back in the bag. And I didn't look at anyone. Not at those who looked with pity. Not at those who laughed. Not at the one who said, "Nobody needs me." Because from that moment on, I stopped being needed. I became necessary. To myself. That same evening, I took out an old safe from the pantry. My fingers remembered the combination by themselves, my muscle memory did not let me down. Inside was a Nokia phone, from the days when communication was a line of trust, not the noise of PR. Next to it was an old leather notebook. Yellowed pages, full of handwriting that was mine before my hands started shaking. I found contacts. People who once owed me more than life. One, I pulled him out of bankruptcy when everyone ran away from him. The second, his daughter was being treated with my money when the insurance company refused. The third one became a politician because I paid for her first campaign, and she publicly disavowed knowing me. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for balance. And now it's time to remind them who I am. I opened the archive. I had documents. Signatures. Old files, flash drives, voice recorders. Things they thought were long forgotten. But I kept everything. Because I knew then, someday I would have to. And now that time has come. I created a new game. Not with fists. Not with shouts. But with the threads that connect people together, and which I already hold in my fingers. Once I was a businessman. Then, a father, a grandfather. Now, I am a shadow. And in the shadow is my advantage. I have never played for the public. I have always played behind the scenes. And now I am returning to my oldest role, the architect of control. They don't see me. But they are starting to feel me. This is just the beginning. Silence became my language. And every silence is like a chisel sharpening a shape from blocks of indifference. I am no longer a grandfather. I am a project. A system. An architect of reckoning. The first was my son. Not for punishment, but for a lesson. A few calls, not on my behalf. Just signals, leaks of information. One accountant, who remembered how I once got him out of prison, sent an anonymous complaint to the company's internal audit department. Facts that my son thought had been buried long ago surfaced. The company conducted an audit. The press got a leak. My son was fired by mutual consent. His photo was removed from the website. His colleagues stopped answering calls. And his look when he spoke on TV about the mistakes of youth, I know that look. This is the beginning of a crack. Then there was my grandson. He was supposed to get a contract with a large company abroad. An internship, a dream, a status. But someone, again, not me, sent an excerpt from his private profile. There were photos with drugs, sexist captions, jokes bordering on fascism. The result was a refusal. Loud. Public. With the scandal still intact. His page disappeared. His face lost its audacity for the first time. Colleagues who had ignored my name for years began to receive reminders about old debts, hidden connections, political donations that had not been reported. Everyone has their own mirror. And I simply cleaned it until it sparkled. So that everyone could see their reflection, without distortion. All the threads go through me. But no one sees the hands. Because the hands are old. And that's their advantage. I'm in the shadows. And I've never been so free. My house hasn't changed. The same windows, the same floor. But the air is different. It's charged. The phone rings more often. My son writes, "I'd like to come over, talk." The grandson sends a video of himself taking coffee out of the car. "This is for you, Grandpa. Remember, you taught me." I don't answer. I don't run away. I just keep quiet. Silence is my message. Because now that they don't know who's behind this, every step they take becomes cautious. Every whisper becomes suspicious. Every "did you see that?" is the beginning of paranoia. I don't destroy people. I expose them. I create an environment where everyone reaps what they sow. I don't interfere with justice. I just remind them that it exists. They thought I was no longer a threat. That old age is silence. And they were right. Old age is silence. But they forgot that the most terrible storms come after the deepest silence. They came unexpectedly. Without warning, without a call. As if something had pushed them, not fear, no. Rather, the need to find a place where at least some certainty remained. My home. I heard the gate creak, the car door close. The footsteps were hesitant, unusually quiet. This is not how winners walk. This is how those who have suddenly been shown their true shadow walk. The sun came in first. His suit fit perfectly, but his shoulders didn't. His shoulders were broken. He didn't dare meet my gaze right away. He only said, quietly, as if to himself, "Dad." Behind him is my daughter. Her voice trembled. Her lips were painted, but the smile faded somewhere between the door and my threshold. The grandchildren stood behind, like extras in a scene that they don't fully understand. But they too had changed. There was no laughter, no arrogance. Only restrained alertness. Because for the first time in their lives they were not looking at the old man, but at a person they did not know. I was sitting in an armchair. That's why. The plaid on my lap. The tea had cooled. The TV was silent. I didn't change anything. That was the symbol. They sat down opposite. Silently. Breathing noisily. Not because they were tired, because everything inside was burning with unspoken questions. The son was the first to dare. "We would like to talk." I nod. I don't say anything. They talked for almost an hour. About work. About stress. About losses. They made excuses, explained, got confused in words that they would never have said if it weren't for what had happened in recent weeks. And I remained silent. My gaze was not angry. And not soft. It was direct. The same one with which I once closed deals, saved partners, decided destinies. And in that look they were drowning. The daughter suddenly cried. We didn't want it to be like this. I just raised an eyebrow. Because sometimes the truth doesn't need a voice. The grandson said, "Grandpa, I'm sorry." And for the first time in many years, he wasn't looking past me, but at me. I didn't answer. I didn't hug him. I didn't squeeze his shoulder. I just was. And that was enough for them to understand. I didn't forgive. But I didn't hate him either. Because the revenge they experienced wasn't anger. It was balance. Not punishment, but a manifestation of the truth. Not destruction, but a lesson. When they left, the house became quiet again. But the silence was different. Not dead, like before, but thick, saturated. The silence that remains after a storm, when everything falls into place. I opened the notebook. The pages were written down, thick. I turned them over, slowly, with the precision of a surgeon. And on the last page I wrote, "Old age is not a shadow. It is height. And the higher you stand, the less you fear those who have forgotten to look up." I closed the notebook. And for the first time in a long time, I felt neither pain nor resentment. Only strength. Not youth. Not power. The strength to see everything and to be silent. I did not forgive, but I did not rage either. Because I am Vincent. And I have never been unnecessary to anyone.